Hello, everybody. And here we are. I'm so excited for today. Thanks for joining Open Source Thursdays. Today we've got a very special couple of guests. I'm joined by Taylor from DistributeAid. And yeah, Taylor, I'd love if you could introduce yourself and DistributeAid to our viewers.
Taylor. I'm the co-founder of DistributeAid and our operations director. As an organization, we focus on facilitating humanitarian aid logistics for grassroots organizations. We mostly work with groups that are serving displaced people, such as refugees and asylum seekers, but also send aid to places like Lebanon, where we're responding to both the needs of refugees over there and the people displaced by the port blast that struck last year. So local Lebanese people as well. And finally, I think that our next exciting project is to open up a resilience hub in Atlanta, where we'll be focusing on hurricane relief and supporting local grassroots organizing for the people of Atlanta in the Southeast United States. So lots of trucking and shipping, really moving aid around the world to get it to where it's needed most, and looking out for the hundreds of smaller organizations that we work with who are at home collecting the aid or on the front lines doing distributions and taking care of people.
That's incredible work that you're all doing, Taylor, and we're so thankful that that you do it and that you're, making this available to people to so that they can cooperate on this sort of things. Like the work we've been doing together already, by exposure of us working together has shown me what you're all doing, and I'm floored. We at CodeSee are super floored by it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I really appreciate all the support from your end as well. We kind of started as a technology project and we're like, hey, let's build the tech to see what's available or see what's needed, match it up. And then we realized after launching our beta, people were like, that's awesome. I need you to get this aid to me. So that was 2019. In 2020, we really built out, a continent-wide supply chain in Europe. And through that, simplified the logistics operations so that they could be standardized, and then you can code it up, right? Computers are great at doing the same thing over and over again, kind of facilitating a good process. So we had to get it there. And now that our operations are regular and stable and we know how to scale on the operations side, we're back to the code. So it's diving back in. And, what I love about CodeSee is that I don't have a lot of time, right? I'm dealing with a lot of things. There's always some other truck to plan or something like that. And working with remote volunteers in such a context heavy environment where you have to understand the coding, but you also have to understand grassroots and logistics. CodeSee lets me just set things up so that folks can focus on coding, right? That's what open source contributors want to do. That's where they can have the most impact. So they don't have to worry about all of this other stuff. They can just see the data that's coming in, start to understand that context. Maybe we do a pairing session and look at it together, and then they're good to go. And I can get back to figuring out where I'm going to get the next million masks or something like that.
Yeah, that's the extraordinary part. Like the fact that all of your tooling, all of the things you do, this is all open source, isn't it? So so what we've been doing here at Open Source Thursdays is, over time, been getting to the point where we can make open source contributions, to catch everybody up. Last week, Noreen and I had a session on etiquette and non-code contributions, which also play a vital part in open source. But today, we're teaming up with you at DistributeAid to look at open source from a maintainer's perspective. So the show we've got for you today, folks, is pretty special because for the first half, myself and Taylor are going to pair program a solution to an issue that has been prepared for us, which we're very grateful. And then afterwards, Maxime from DistributeAid will join us to code review, give us feedback, and yeah, actually, the fun thing you mentioned, you were mentioning how CodeSee has helped you, and we're super grateful that to hear that it's been helpful for you. This is actually going to be um, the first time that we stream using CodeSee. So you might have been joining for a
Oh,
while,
nice.
wondering what is CodeSee. Well, you are about to find out.
Totally. And I just want to give some context here. So what you're seeing
Oh
right
yes.
now is our current landing site, which looks amazing. We're going to be working on the new landing site. We're still working, our design team's hard at work to figure out what that should look like. And in the meantime, we're kind of doing a lot of the plumbing work to get it ready. So don't worry that the styles aren't there yet. The reason that we're switching this over is we updated our stack. This is built using Hugo, which is a static site generator. Our new stack uses contentful and grabs that data through Gatsby to still do the static site generation, but it lets us use React and Tailwind, which is the same front end stack that we're using on our other projects. It also allows our operations people to have control of the content on the site, to get that data up there, to make changes, so they don't have to wait for someone who's a part-time volunteer on the coding end to update the shipment information for one of our routes pages or something. They're empowered to just go handle their side of things, but we still have this ability to create really great experiences with custom design and with custom coding. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for us. That's why we're also not using something like Wix or Squarespace for this. We have a strong technical team. We want that to shine. We have really great operations people. We don't want to get in their way when they need an update on the website. Um,
That's amazing. So I had no idea that this website was different from the one that from the new one. I
mhm.
see. Couple notes. One of our dear team members, Jess, mentions in the chat, if you'd like to contribute to Distribute Aids, there's opportunities to do so through open source and also financially. There's some links in the chat. Please check them out. Lizard Eats Flies writes, as a CodeSee developer, I'm nervous right now. Do not be nervous. We're gonna do great. We're gonna do you justice. Um, yeah. So let's have a look at what we've got here. I'm gonna open up. I think everybody should be able to see my screen. Taylor, I'll need to reshare with you. So please allow me a
Okay.
moment. So share the entire screen. Great. Everybody should now see my screen. What I've got here is a locally running copy of Distribute Aid running on my computer. So here on the terminal on the right, you'll see the code running. Here I've got VS Studio Code open with Distribute Aid's code base running on it. And here, if I go to localhost 8000, we will see the new website for Distribute Aid, which
Very much a work in progress.
as Platypus with Cheese said, those older websites that would be like that had the little gif of the road worker under construction. Yeah, but I mean that's how this
Yeah.
stuff gets made.
Well, exactly. And what you see here, I kind of needed to figure out how to solve this operational problem and get those folks unblocked. And so came up with a stack and wanted to just make sure it would actually work, right? And so that's why you see a couple of pages, is the who we are, the what we do. Those pages are all controlled by Contentful, meaning that if someone needs to make a change, to tell our story the right way or add to it, they can just go do that, right? And on this homepage, you see lots of different content elements. Can we get images on there? Can we embed, a presentation from Prezi or a YouTube video to embeds work? And so this was kind of get it to the point that it's validated so I can turn it over to the team that's going to be building it and they can run with it.
Awesome. Now, let's hop over to GitHub because you've prepared a work in progress pull request. Let me just make GitHub a little bit larger here so everybody can see. Please chat if the text is too small, please give me a shout and I'll happily make it bigger. Um, so, work in progress feature add regions pages. So this is a feature that we're going to be working on today. Is that correct?
Yep, that's it.
Excellent. So you've already done you've already started the legwork towards it. Um, and what we're going to be adding here. So here's a comment from you. I'm going to read it out. Thanks so much for the help today. Got called up for my second shot of Pfizer with no warning this morning. So how you holding up, by the way, if I may ask?
I'm feeling great, you know. Let's get through this stream, and then I can rest and relax if the side effects do kick in.
Fingers
I think
crossed
this is
you.
actually really good because it's real. I got the text message. I'm in Serbia. I don't want to miss that shot. So, and I have this stream set up, and this is just like a real workplace environment. Someone gets sick. Someone has to take care of their kids. You know, whatever that reason, we all have personal days, right? And you
Totally.
can't always control the timing of that. And so I think that not only we're going to look at CodeSee in action and contribute to the distributed code base, but we can show how it can transfer context and help teams handle these unplannable events, right?
Exactly. So glad we can get this handover done before the side effects kick in. I've been working on two sets of pages to show where we work. The index page to list the regions. So that's where we work. So if I open this should take me in my browser to that page. Just gonna make it a little bit larger as well. So we see a site header where we work, hello world, page footer, and site footer. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is being statically generated by Gatsby. Is that correct?
So with this index page, it's a React page, and so
Gotcha.
it's just yeah, for these ones, there's no generation needed. We just go straight, create a React page, and then use React components.
Excellent. And you've gone ahead and and created a CodeSee for us. Let's
Of course.
so full disclosure, I've looked at the distributed code base very little, so I'll be diving in fresh along with all of you. So please bear with me, everybody. Taylor, thank you so much for helping me drive today. So let's open up the CodeSee. I'm just gonna make this bigger once again. So this is a recording that you took of the page in action.
Mm-hmm.
So when you loaded the page, a couple things took place here. This is what CodeSee recorded today. We can see that it was already recorded shortly before the show started. Yeah, and you recorded this using CodeSee. Actually, CodeSee was I just realized I've been blocking the CodeSee button. So I'm just gonna move our video a little bit lower. We've been doing this in the app using CodeSee, which is this button here. And what it does is it allows us to record, to take our app and record it in action. So we can start a recording in verbose or terse mode, start it up, and here we can see it's listening to everything that our app is doing. I'm just going to refresh. And that should still be recording. Going to click on it again to stop. So that's how Taylor went ahead and created a recording. Now we can see everything that took place in our app in one go. So going back to the recording that you went ahead and made for us, Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that took place is we loaded the Gatsby browser. Then we loaded the simple. Is this a layout? Yeah, that's a
It's
layout.
a layout, yeah.
Then we loaded where we work .typescript, where we work page, and simple layout.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we would want to start probably here, right? At the where we work page.
Yep, that's where it all kicks off.
So we can take a look at what took place right there. Just gonna move this up a little bit. Gosh, I cannot say enough how much I love the design, the work that the CodeSee team, the engineering team has done. Shout outs
Really
to all
good.
of you.
It's been fun to see it progress over the past couple of months. Every time I open it up, there's some cool new thing, right?
Yeah, like Jess said, this is sort of this is a recording that acts as a interactive snapshot of what happened as the page loaded. So we are building these sort of chunks of understanding that allows me, a relative newbie, to take a look at what's going on with the code here. So let's see. We've loaded. So this is working with GraphQL. I take it that's the API that Distributed uses to for where it
Yep,
gets its
we're
data from.
connecting to the GraphQL API that Gatsby generates. So it takes the contentful GraphQL API and its own stuff, merges them together, and then we pull straight from the Gatsby GraphQL API.
Awesome. So there's our where we work page. It's got a layout, a hello world, and the page footer. So
Mm-hmm.
if I wanted to, I think I can already have an idea here of where, because the first thing we want to do is, let me just go back to our to our PR over here. We want to list those regions. Is that right? Would that
Exactly. So we want to pull those regions in from contentful.
Yeah.
Let's just list those on the page instead of hello world there.
Got it. So like the great the cool thing about like CodeSee is like I was already immediately able to see where that is. So it's an SRC pages where we work.tsx. So I'm gonna open that
Mm-hmm.
up. So where we work. Again, I hope the size is okay for everybody. I'm just gonna make this full screen. Do shout in the chat if you'd like to. Um, if you'd like me to make it bigger. So here's our page body with hello world. Cool. Now the question is, oh, cool. You've already prepared the query. Is that it here?
Well, I got some of the stuff there. Yep. So I prepared this one on the kind of actual region pages. I haven't given you that much, so wanted to get this one up and running with a query we can focus on the data, right? And then
Awesome.
on the next one, we can maybe take a look at what other data is available for the regions or subregions.
Awesome. I have never done. I'm about to confess live. I've never done GraphQL, so I'll appreciate your guidance here, please. So I think I would want to. So we've got a React component, a function component that has some. Oh, the data's already there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the data with the from the
Yeah.
query?
So if we go to CodeSee, we should be able to
Oh yeah.
see what that GraphQL data looks like that's coming into your React component.
No way. Over here we
So
can
it
use.
might not be. Oh yeah. Oh, I love this one.
Yeah, this is the inspector that's going to show us where that query took place under where we work. So where we work page, we load up that page context, and we can see. Oh, here's the
It
data.
is passed in right there. Yep.
So we can. Let me just move us. Cool. Um. Oh wow, look at that. Oh, Pepperdone asks, what VS Code theme is that? It is called. I think it's called Darkula. Hold on. I get very easily distracted. I'm very sorry. Darkula VS Code. It is indeed Darkula. Love this love this theme, and it works. They've got cute little things for
Oh,
everything. So it's like it works on VS. It's on VS Code. It's also they actually have really cute thing for everything like Emacs, Atom, Coda, Eclipse, Firefox, and of course, if I scroll down, we're gonna have Vim, of course. Okay, sorry, I'm getting very
all
distracted.
good.
um, so yes, we were here. So we were looking at the data with the inspector. So CodeSee pulled in that data and allows us to inspect it here. All contentful data region, all contentful data georegion subregion. So let's have a look at these. See what we got. We got a bunch of nodes. Look at that.
There you go. Those are the regions that we ship aid from or to.
That's amazing. You even got a slug. The slug, if I'm not mistaken, is for linking to that region.
Exactly. So the idea here is the where do we work page as an index page. That's going to be something linked to from the main menu. It's a little bit more static. But let's, for example, we recently opened up our route to Lebanon, right? And so, we're going to be opening up this hub in Atlanta. I just want my operations people to tell the world what they're doing, right? They
Yeah.
add a new region, it gets generated, it has a slug, it gets, pulled down here on this page, and we can link using that slug to the generated page. And it's all automatic. As soon as they enter it in contentful, it runs
Wow.
it through, it auto updates on Netlify. Like it should be that easy so they can get on with their part of the job, right?
That's amazing. That's amazing. Cool. So now that we know that data, we can get the data. We can get each of these nodes, and for each of them get a name and a slug. We should be able to loop through these and just display them as a
Mm-hmm.
starter.
That sounds great.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna make an absolute mess of myself because I haven't done this in a very long time.
No worries.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're gonna do data dot. What? Wow, VS Code is smart. Dot nodes. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Dot for.
Yep, that looks right to me.
So for we're gonna for loop over all of them, and each element here is gonna be.
One
Yes.
thing with the React here, Ramon, I think you might need to do a map because this statement needs to return the elements which then get inserted into the, I want to say HTML, but it's some
JSX,
sort
I
of
guess.
weird JSX, yeah.
Good call. No, you're absolutely right. Thank you. It is indeed a map, and each of these, I'm just gonna be clean here and call this a node. Don't know if we need that semicolon there. So now we'll display. Let's just make it easy to start with. We'll have a paragraph with the node dot. What was it called? Let's go back to CodeSee real quick. Node dot. We have name and slug.
Hmm. And that's really cool because, as you said, you don't know that much about GraphQL, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So you don't need to know about GraphQL because you can just look at CodeSee and look at what that data is in JavaScript right there. So that's okay. That's again less context, that you have to understand to go get the job done. And working with volunteers on open source projects, I can't assume there's no training period, right? We like to be super inclusive, and no matter your background, I want you to be able to contribute to distribute aid. Maybe you've gone to college, maybe a free coding camp, maybe you're opening all of this up and using our project as a way to learn for the first time. That's awesome,
that
right?
is
And so just letting people dive in where they're at in their own journey as a developer, I think is super powerful.
that's that's very well said. I couldn't have put it any better myself, and it's so wonderful to hear of open source projects that keep that in mind as a quality of life aspect for open source. Because I mean that also, we were talking about this with Nareen last week. That motivates people to contribute. Having that,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I've gone ahead and saved this. I realize this is TypeScript, so I've probably missed a type here somewhere. But I don't know. Let's have a look.
See what
So
happens.
let's see what happens. So that would be just gonna move us once again over here. So let's do a quick refresh.
Oh,
Cool.
okay.
Cannot read property map of undefined. Just gonna make this a little bit smaller. So
Oh, it looks like there's nodes
oh
dot array. We just want to take that array out.
yeah, I think my autocomplete might have been a little bit overeager there. My bad. Good call.
Visual Studio, too helpful.
Too helpful. Very true. Okay. So, well, that generated the page,
Okay,
but not
less broken.
the array. So, I wonder, can we use CodeSee to figure out
Let's find out.
why that didn't show it?
You know what's great about this? If we can't use CodeSee to find out why that didn't show, you
Yeah,
have a nice new feature request for your dev team, right?
totally. um, cool. Let's have a look. Aha!
So there's our map.
And it's returning an empty function. Or it's
One below that, I think, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh, look at
Yeah, there
that.
we go. Hmm.
A bunch of undefineds. Right, so it's trying to map over a bunch of undefined objects. Hmm. So I'm going to have to move us again. Just going to make us a little smaller. I think people already know what we look like by now. There we go. So I'll just keep us here, nice and tucked in. Um, right, so we are getting a bunch of undefineds. So the question is why?
Well, so we know the data is good, right? That's one of the nice things about CodeSee right here. I don't have to worry that I'm getting bad data.
Yeah,
It's there. And so this is definitely the part of the code base that I should be looking at. It's not the GraphQL query or something else. So that's super helpful to know. Um,
totally. So let's see, data dot all contentful. Oh, you know what? I think I missed. No, no. Sorry, never mind. So we got data, which is this. We went into all contentful data geo region. Then we went into nodes, which is an array of objects. The interesting thing
mhm.
is these are all. Oh, sorry, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. Cubes EBUC writes in the chat: is it mapping over undefined, or did it return undefined multiple times?
Mm.
So that
Can
it's cubes
we
from
step
CodeSee.
into the map function there? Like, does that let us drill down that little blue arrow, right? Because we're looking at the outer layer. Can we look at the inner layer and see what's happening here?
We totally can. Check it out. So with thank you. uh, yes, you're doing my job much better than I am.
You can tell I
um,
use CodeSeam a lot, right?
yeah. So we can see here we're iterating over six objects in the array, and we are not returning. We're not rendering this. Hmm.
Mhm. Because this
So
is really cool. Like we see the right stuff is coming in,
yeah,
and the variable that we're writing between, the name there, it's actually I love the iteration thing where you can just
it's my
and so you see each of those different region names is showing up. It's not we're sending the same region through 6 times or something like that. Um, yeah, I think the person in the chat is probably right there. It looks like it's an issue returning stuff out of that function.
You're absolutely right. Let's try return node.name.
I think we might need to put the return on the outside
Right,
around the paragraph tags, right?
like this.
And
Good.
then it probably needs the parentheses.
Yep. That looks good. Thank you,
That
chat.
looks
Let's give that another. Hey, there we
there
go.
we go.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. Okay, cool. So that's a first step, I would say.
Hmm.
Next step, now that we've got the name, we can get, let me just take another look at the data from CodeSee because we've got the node, which has a slug.
Hmm.
So we can use that slug as a link to the page for that region. So let's change this ever so slightly from a paragraph to a link. I'm just going to change this too. So now we need to be able to have a link to that URL, which, if I'm not mistaken, should be can it be a local URL just like this?
Um, yeah. Oh, nice. I didn't think of that. I was gonna put slash where we work slash. I think that should work, but that's gonna have node dot slug as text. So we might want to wrap the quotes with brackets and then do the string concatenation inside of that.
Ah, yes, you're absolutely. I think like wrap. Which part
Oh wait,
was?
maybe Sorry, no, I'm making it too complicated. I think we might just need a dollar sign or something. So like a way, like if you use a backticks instead of the quotes, and then you can just do string interpolation to
Ah,
plug the
yes.
one. Yeah.
Good call. So instead of so we'll still need the quotes because we're writing JSX. Then we'll need these to do the inline JavaScript. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. I always have to look this one up in the docs.
I think that should work.
Let's try it out.
Yeah. Well, they are links. They're all on the same line because they're all in one paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, somebody from the chat gave us a nice one.
Nice.
href equals. Uh-huh. So I don't. So it looks like we won't need this after all. Let me see. No,
Okay.
my editor's not liking that. Ah,
It's expecting. Mm-hmm.
I'm missing these. Yes. Thank you very much.
Sweet.
Let's give that another try. Yep, there we go. So if we click on one of these, we should be able... Oh no, look at that.
Okay, so
You were right.
it's linking to France instead of where we work / France.
Right. So we need where we work / France. Oh, it is Maxime. Hi, Maxime.
Hey, Maxime.
So let's give that another try. There we go.
There we go. That's the France page.
So that's the France page. I'm just going to try another one. Let's try Germany. And there's Germany page. Fantastic. Excellent.
Awesome.
So, question is, how can we make these on separate lines? What's the best way to do it? I guess we could have either a breakpoint after each one or make them a list. But I guess that's not...
The list should be pretty easy. We can just add a UL around the initial data stuff and then just wrap the A in an LI, right?
Yep. There we go. So we've got, this is an unordered list with a bunch of list items for each of those in them. So if I go back, there we go.
Oh, Tailwind, I think, removes list styling by default, and then it
Oh,
customizes.
really?
Yeah, but that's actually okay. I mean, this is a great point for a commit, in my opinion. We have the mechanism down. There's lots of different ways we could end up styling this. And what we're trying to do right now is just get that infrastructure in place, get that data flow going, and give our design team a chance to get the mocks up and running, right?
Yeah.
And then build to their vision. So, if they want to make it a list, a table with search and sort and filter and stuff like that, cards, and just have a card for each region, kind of like our current site, that's up to them, right? We've done our job. Let's get it committed, and then let's bring Maxime in for the code review.
Ooh, how exciting. Thank you very much. So let's open up a terminal here. So now I'm in the terminal. We did a git commit 2 weeks ago, folks. So we're just going to do another one here. Git status. We can see which files we've modified, which is this one here. Now we'll do a git add src. So we're going to stage all of the files in the src folder that have been changed for committing. I always like to be a good citizen and check what is about to change. So we can type in git diff stage to see what got removed, what got added in. And after that, we'll do a git commit Ooh, it cleaned up my JavaScript a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. Very nice. Um, so we,
So we typically, this isn't like a hard requirement, but one of our volunteers, Marcus, introduced this to the team. It's something called conventional commits, which just is a little bit of like some formatting guidelines for commit messages to add consistency, because that's one of the things we try to do, like you noticed with the auto formatting and stuff, is just make it easy for anyone to contribute and like focus on writing code. And then part of that is when you're reading code that other people wrote, it's good to have that standard, right? And so auto formatting, you don't have to worry about spaces or tabs or something. Let the linter do that, right? And in this case with conventional commits, people can go read the spec on them, but they kind of have, features, chores, bug fixes, things like that. Um, so we can look maybe at the merge request. Yeah, there we go. That's it.
sorry, yeah. Maxime recommended this link to take a look at conventional commits. So we'll have a type of commit, a description, and these are all optional. I take it. I see here. Scope,
Exactly.
body, and footer. Great. So we'll have a type, description. What type? Is there a list of types of
So
commits?
right below you there, there's a fix or a feature or a breaking change, and then they have some recommended ones. It's kind of that's a little bit more by convention per project. I
Sure.
tend to use chore for like dependency updates, and that's where I'll use the scope. So it'll be chore, and then deps, and then oh, I bumped up the CodeSee version or something like that.
Awesome. Yeah. This looks great. Let's try and adapt it for here then. I will go with ugh. Uh, display list of regions as links to their pages. Oh no, I went over 80 characters.
That's okay. I don't.
What do you think? Does this look like an okay commit to you? Message?
Yeah, that tells me what you were doing,
Yep.
list of regions, and that you link to the pages. So that's kind of the two key parts that we accomplished. And I think that what's nice here is you can always use the pull request, like what files were changed, or you can use the CodeSee, right? There are different ways to look at
True.
code and understand this commit. The commit message doesn't have to do all that work. Like we
Yeah,
no
true.
longer have to write out every single thing in the body of a commit message if we pair it with these other artifacts from these powerful tools.
Excellent. Great. I'll go ahead and save that commit. And I'm now gonna push it to this branch on the pull request. So it should. So git push origin setup regions pages. So that will now get pushed to that branch. And if we go back to GitHub, it will, whoops. There's our new commit. Render list of regions as links to their pages. Yeah. So there's our commit done.
Mm-hmm.
The next step will be to add some data from the individual region pages created by Gatsby. I wonder if we've got time for that today because it's already 40 minutes in.
I think at this point, let's switch over
Yep,
and Maxime's on the call. Maybe you want to make a CodeSee of your updates here, right? It's a handoff point, so give him something to work with, and
totally.
we can jump into our current context. Yeah. Maybe
Awesome.
should I stay on the chat and just mute myself, or should I jump off and let you two take it from here?
All fine, Taylor. Always happy to have you.
Cool.
So hello, Maxime. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So, thank you for all your help today. We've developed this commit with Taylor, and I'm about to write up. I'm gonna do this live here. I'm gonna write up what I've done, as well as provide a CodeSee of how it looks and the decisions we made towards that. So
Awesome.
let me just move us aside so we can look at, hey, there's CodeSee. So we can start a recording. I will refresh the page. Stop that recording. CodeSee is going to analyze that for that, give us a nice snapshot of what we've done. Gonna name this display list of regions as links to their pages. And we can see, I'll take a look here at what we've done. And using CodeSee, I'm actually going to make a CodeSee story of what took place here so I can annotate it for you.
Nice.
So, so the first thing I'm doing here is, let me just go to that execution here. So I'm going to link to that part here. Hold on. Let me see if I can do that here. Oh yeah, I'll do it here. Excellent. Iterate over loop over the regions retrieved by GraphQL. And a second element here, render each node. Which would be here. Cool. So that story is now saved. And I'm going to make this CodeSee public. Copy that link. And I'm going to attach this as a comment to this pull request. So
That's me.
So here's the data flow of displaying the regions. I write my posts like emails. I know it's a bad habit. Yeah, I'm very verbose. I'm very verbose. Cool. So that's now posted into GitHub. So now we can switch over to you, Maxime, if you'd like to take a look at everything from your end and see if it looks okay.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want me to share my screen?
If you'd like, you're very welcome to.
Let's do this. All right, here we are. So I've been watching the stream a little bit, so I have a little bit of context, but I'm really curious to see how CodeSee helps me understand the data flow. So let me refresh this page. Okay. So here's what you two created. So I'm gonna close this real quick.
All
right, this is very interesting. So
what we've got here is the loop over all of the 6 regions.
So it looks like you're probably grabbing that data from Contentful, right, which is our CMS. And like you said, you're mapping over all of the regions that we have stored over there. And it looks like you're displaying those in a list. showing their name and linking to their slug. Yeah, this is awesome. Let's see. Oh, and this is going to show me the actual data for each iteration of this map loop. That's fantastic. Gotcha. So I would expect, 6 regions to be displayed. And obviously I can see what the data looks like now, which is awesome too.
Indeed.
Perfect. So what I'm curious about is I kind of want to see what files are going to be included in this whole render flow, right? Which I think
Yeah.
is what I'm able to see here.
That's correct.
So, coming into this as I know a little bit of Gatsby. So I know that first thing Gatsby does is load this file, which lets you import style sheets and, Google Analytics tags and stuff like that. So I can kind of ignore that safely. And then I can see, okay, you've gone through this layout called just simple.tsx, and you have a new page. So because I'm familiar with Gatsby, I know that if a page or a file is in the pages directory, this is going to be the actual path to that file in my browser, right? So if I go to localhost colon 8000 / where we work, I'll be able to see that page. That's awesome. Yeah, great. Okay, so, this gives me a really good idea of the files I need to look at. So if I go back to your code review, let me see. And me right here. I basically know what I expect to see in the list of changes here, right?
Indeed.
So my process for code review is usually to look at the list of files that has changed. My goal is to kind of see what I can ignore, right? Because, for example, there's this file with, more than 7,000 changes that I don't really want to look at. So what I can do is, I can look at package.json and I see here, oh, you've just upgraded 2 packages. So that's fine with me. And I can probably just ignore everything in the yarn.log file, right?
Cool. And you click on viewed and that sort of like takes it away from your context.
Exactly. And I think if you refresh the page, it will still kind of show you your progress in the top right. So, if I leave this and pick it up in the future, I know, okay, I've already looked at this file. I can safely resume looking at the rest of the files.
Wow. I did not know that. That is wicked cool.
Yeah, GitHub is awesome.
The combination of those two, right? So Maxime seeing the data flow to kind of hone in on what matters, which then lets him just say, okay, yeah, this doesn't matter, right? Because that wasn't really involved. That might be a quick style change or something. It lets him jump to those things that weren't included in that data flow and just make it a binary decision if he needs to spend time on it or not.
Yeah, this is really great. So, going back here, I'll probably just go look at where we work is generated. So let's see. Here it is. Okay, so looking at this page, it's basically what I expected, right? So I assume you have a GraphQL query. Yeah, there it is. So what this is doing is grabbing data from Contentful and formatting it using the fields that we want. It looks like this is what you're using when you're displaying data. So it's looking at all the regions. I know it's an array because of the syntax. I know nodes means, it's an element in the array. And you're grabbing its Contentful ID, name, and slug. So then I can look at what's actually being rendered. So I know the kind of the shape of the data because we're using TypeScript, and Taylor has done awesome work of typing everything, which is great. And I know that data contains all the regions, which is what we saw earlier in CodeSee. So you're mapping over that stuff here and displaying some links. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. So then I'm going to check out this simple layout. By convention, our layouts folder, contains obviously layouts, which is just a way of displaying data.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect any functionality really to happen in that file, just mostly, rendering a header or a footer and stuff like that. So here we're not going to see any GraphQL queries because we're not, grabbing any data. We're really just displaying what we already have. So what I'm seeing here is a couple of things. Helmet is a package that lets you, add meta tags and things like that to your page. So in this case, we're taking whatever the page is telling us. So, we'll see a page title and a site title, which, go ahead.
Right.
You were going to say something.
Sorry, no, I was just because I think I got briefly introduced to Helmet a few weeks ago. So this is sort of like a package for generating a head tag. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically. So all, your document title or your meta tags, things like that can be included in this essentially markup here, right? And that will be added to your page. So the cool thing about that is that, obviously you'll have a page template at the very top level. But what this lets you do is you can add Helmet really in anywhere in your render tree, and the lowest level at which Helmet is rendered will override the previous settings, right? So if your default page title, for example, is distributed.org, and you define it here in this page that's a little bit nested, this one will override the top level. So you can say, oh, this is the Where We Work page, for example. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. So here I can see, again, through CodeSee that what we're passing to this layout is a page title and a site title that are both to-dos. So I'm expecting, this page right here to say exactly that.
I have a quick question for Ramón. So it was really cool, Ramón, watching you add annotations to your CodeSee. Is this something that Maxime might be able to also add an annotation, either explaining how some of this stuff works to us, since he's the most familiar with React and the tooling that we're using? Or, for example, he might notice, hey, you left the to-do in here instead of, say, adding a page title for the regions. That might not be on this one because we're the Where We Work, but let's say it was on the per region page, and he's like, oh, I noticed you have the region name like Hello France written in the body, but you forgot to do that here. And the reason I point that out and like why I'd want to do that on CodeSee is you can actually see the data here, right? Which makes it very visible of like, this to-do should actually be the name of a region. If you try to do that on GitHub, you're just looking at the variable names, right? And so it's a lot easier to understand that there's a display issue or the title isn't what it should be when you're seeing that content. It's a lot harder to do that when you're just looking at the variable naming.
That is such a good observation, Taylor. Like I never thought of that, but you're absolutely right. Like one key thing, because I've always thought of CodeSea stories as sort of oftentimes I find that there's a comparison made to them with code comments, right? With the added bonus, with the monumental bonus of having context added to that, where you can move between comments within a certain order. But to be able to add data to that is such a yeah. I'm reeling a little bit from that, but that is an excellent point. So yes, Maxime can totally use stories to point to a piece of data and say like, hey, what's up with this piece of data? Something doesn't look right here. Because it's caught in that moment with that data attached to it, you can absolutely do that.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
So for example, see here that there's a bunch of to-dos.
Yeah, exactly.
So how would he annotate that? Is that the upper right there? Or since you made this CodeSee, even though it's public, then...
Oh yeah. I think, I could be wrong, but I think Maxime, you would need to make your own CodeSee to be able to annotate it accordingly.
I see. I think what Taylor's thinking is having the ability to kind of collaborate on existing CodeSees, right? So if I could add some annotations to the one you created, Ramón, that would be awesome. We're doing some live product development for CodeSee right now, so.
Yes.
Official feature request, please.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta write this down. No, excellent point. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a good idea, Taylor. Yeah, so, kind of going back to the code review, this layout will display what I passed to it, which is the children prop, and then add a header and footer to the page, which is exactly what I would expect to see right here, right? Perfect. yeah, I don't have a lot to add to this one. That looks good to me. Um, what else did we look at? I see this region page, but that wasn't in the, yeah, that wasn't in the CodeSee, so I'm gonna skip that one for now.
Yeah, if we had ideally we would have liked to do both, but
Yeah, I see.
but that's for another day, I'm
No
afraid.
worries. Yeah, perfect. So that was awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much for the review. I guess if this were if we also had that region one, like, or assuming that wasn't part of the, like, the your next step would be to do a review and approve the pull request.
Yeah, exactly. So what I like to do in reviews is add some comments about things that I would maybe want to see improved.
Sure.
For example, I think you mentioned this in the stream, but I would really like for this to be styled as an actual list, right? By default, Tailwind will remove the styling. What I'd maybe say here is, some basic styling would be great.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think it's list disk maybe.
Ooh. Gosh, I wish we had more
And
time. I want to try that out.
yeah, and I'll mark this as optional because it's not necessarily in scope of this pull request. Another thing that I noticed is that we're mapping over an array here. What React likes is having a key prop on each top level element that's mapped. So
Ooh.
I'm going to actually make this blocking because React will complain about it. And that's kind of the syntax we like to use.
Cool.
Cool. Awesome. And to be super nitpicky, the last thing I would say is if you're using Gatsby, having an aref, an anchor ref, or an anchor tag, sorry, will actually reload the entire page when you click on it. What Gatsby lets you do is use their, typing and talking at the same time is very difficult. Using their, use Gatsby's link component to avoid a full page reload. And let's see if I can link you.
Thank you.
To the documentation for that. Boom. And this way, if you use this, it won't actually reload the entire page. It'll just load the content and change the slug in the URL. It'll be a little bit faster.
Awesome. Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
And
I'll get to work on those, but of course off stream.
Perfect. And yeah, that's it for my code review.
Well, thank you very much. Whew! We accomplished a lot today, folks. Thanks a lot. This was a ton of fun. So we've seen, of course, a little bit of how CodeSee works. It's kind of like, in a sense, it's kind of a debut. I'm super excited. Thank you all for having it. Thank you all for allowing us. Thank you for joining us on this. So we've also covered, how to enter a new code base. We've seen a little bit of using CodeSee to really laser focus on those parts that we need. We've covered what it's like to not only give that code review as a maintainer, but also to receive that code review as somebody who worked on this. And I think something that I've learned over many years, if I may wax philosophical a little bit, is to not be overly attached to my changes. I mean, this is all a learning process. For example, I had no idea that Gatsby had this link thing. The equivalent that comes to mind from my experience with Ruby on Rails is turbo links. I don't know if you're familiar, if you've used Rails a lot before. I'm probably showing my age here. Of not having to reload the whole page. So that's super interesting. I cannot thank you both enough for being here today. As said before, to those viewing, if you're interested in contributing to Distribute Aid, please check out their GitHub projects if you're interested in contributing financially. That also helps a ton. It keeps keep things running. And yeah, thank you both so much.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having us on.
It was super
Yeah,
fun.
totally.
Yeah, we'll post links to videos, and we'll also have a link so you can check out CodeSee if you're interested. And yeah, thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Take
Thanks for
care.
hosting. Take care.